Now, on the Mets side, Don, we're talking about this month being the month for the Mets. This killer road trip they're on right now. They have a game against Colorado tonight. But they also have another West Coast trip, which might be the West Coast trip that decides whether or not they're going to be one of the wild card teams. You have 4 games against the Padres and then 3 games against the Diamondbacks. Those are 2 teams in front of you right there. Those are important games, August 22nd through the 25th, and for the Diamondbacks, August 27th through the 29th. You got to win those games. Now, I guess if you split with the Padres, okay, right, you live with it. And, if you don't get swept by the Diamondbacks, but those are change-worthy series where, the reason I don't think the Mets are going to make it, and, again, I wouldn't be shocked if they did, but I'm just looking at the teams in front of them. Braves better, Padres better, Diamondbacks better. Let the Mets prove me otherwise, and those series are going to be big.
No, they're going to be big, and that's why you have to take advantage of when you have weaknesses in your schedule, all right? You've got 3 games coming against Colorado. Win them all. You come home from this road trip, you got 3 games with the A's, 3 games with the Marlins. You got to win 5 of those 6. You close out the month into September with 3 games in Chicago against the White Sox team, Michael, that looks like they're going to break the record for losses in a season. They're going to beat the Mets record. I mean, they've lost 21 straight games. They are 61 games under 500. So I agree with you. You got those 3 games against the Orioles. You've got the games against the Diamondbacks, the games against the Padres. But you have to win these easier games. You can't lose the 2 out of 3 like they lost against Anaheim. They played hard. They didn't catch some breaks. They couldn't hit with runners in scoring position. You got to win a series like that. But, all right, so you didn't. So now you got to steal a game in Seattle. You've got to now sweep against Colorado where maybe you would have just taken 2 out of 3. So I agree with you. Some of these, the series against the Braves coming up in September is going to be very big. But it's not going to matter, Michael, if you don't take care of business against teams that are handing you wins. Colorado, Chicago, those are teams that don't care. Marlins have already sold off pieces. A's, they're counting the days until the season is over. You've got to take care of business against those teams, too.
All right, so here's the Mets starting lineup for tonight's game against the Rockies. Lindor leads off, Nimmo in left, Martinez a DH. Alonso moves back to cleanup. He had batted out of the cleanup spot yesterday, which is kind of shocking. Yeah. But maybe he needs that shock. Vientos at third, Iglesias at second, Torrens behind the plate, Bader in center, and Taylor had a big game yesterday. He's in right field. So Luis Severino, who did not make the trip to St. Louis, very smart of the Mets. They sent him ahead to Colorado. He'll get the start for the Mets. And as Don said earlier, Rockies stink. I'm not casting aspersions. They stink. They're terrible.
No, they're not good.
The only thing that makes them not the worst team in baseball is that the worst team in baseball, and it might be the worst team in baseball history, is the Chicago White Sox are playing in baseball right now. But the Rockies are dreadful. You got to go into Colorado. I know weird things happen in that ballpark. Jim Cott once said it best. It's like marbles in a bathtub. You got to win these games. I'm sorry. You have to. If you're a playoff team, you got to go into Colorado and smack the Rockies around.
And they had a nice history against the Diamondbacks. We'll see how that works out. So, listen, San Diego worries me because that's a good team that's underachieved in recent years. They retooled at the deadline. They're obviously going for it. We know how good the Braves are. But let's see what the Diamondbacks are made of. I'm not particularly worried until something happens about the Pirates, the Reds, the Giants, the Cardinals. And the Mets have been able to put them a bit in the rearview mirror. They're like all 4.5 games out. So to me, this is 4 teams for 3 spots.
Yeah.
And then the Mets did a great job improving their bullpen. They've gotten better starting pitching than people could have thought. They struggled in Anaheim with runners in scoring position, but overall the offense has been good. And what I would say to Pete Alonso, it's not been a great season for you. But you've got a chance in these next 2 months to completely flip the narrative on your 2024 season. If he can get hot, Michael, and help this team make the playoffs, nobody's going to give a damn about what his final numbers are. They're going to think about how big he was in August and September, and then whatever happens in the playoffs happens. But they're going to forget about the 241 batting average, 23 home runs, 59 RBIs. Michael, he's on pace to really have a pedestrian season for him.
But he will end up with 35 home runs, maybe more.
Well, that's 12 more home runs, Michael. I mean, that would be big. I wouldn't say.
But this is a guy that could put 12 home runs on the board in a month.
Then let's do it. I mean, that's where I think he can flip the script, right? If he's able to do that. Right. Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, right now it looks like that he's not handling the pressure of the contract and all that, and the Mets primarily have turned it around without his help. But he's got all of August, all of September to change that, to flip it. Let's see if he can do it. The Mets were able to change the narrative on their season. Let's see if Alonso can do the same.